Today, we're going to unpack the science behind a skill that, believe it or not, might be way more important for your success than raw intelligence. It's called emotional intelligence, or EQ. And you know what the best part is? It's something you can actually train and get better at.
So, to really get why this matters so much, we have to start with a story. I want you to picture this. It's a perfect morning at Salmon Creek Beach, and a surfer named Butch Connor is about to face a test that will push him to the absolute edge of what his mind can handle.
So, Butch, he's an experienced surfer, right? He paddles about 40 yards away from everyone else to find his own waves. He's just out there, bobbing in the water, waiting for the right one, with absolutely no idea what's about to happen. And then he hears a loud splash. He glances over his shoulder, and his blood just runs cold. It's a 14-inch dorsal fin attached to a huge 14-foot great white shark, and it's heading right for him. In that split second, his body just shuts down. What happened next wasn't just some physical struggle between a man and a shark. No, the real battle was happening inside Butch's head. It was this intense fight between the raw, paralyzing terror telling him to freeze up and that tiny, rational voice he had to find if he wanted any chance of surviving. Now, Butch's story is obviously an extreme example, but it perfectly illustrates the challenge we all face every single day, that constant tug of war between what we feel and what we think. So why is that internal fight so tough? Well, it all comes down to how our brains are wired. Think of it like a highway for information. Every single signal from your senses has to pass through the emotional center of your brain first, before it ever gets to the logical part. This basically creates an emotional first responder in your head, which means we feel things before we even have a chance to think about them. This whole feel first, think second setup is exactly why researchers started to question our old ideas about success. And it led them to a pretty huge discovery about what really separates the high achievers from, well, everyone else. For years, scientists were stumped by this weird paradox. Why is it the people with the highest IQs only outperform folks with average IQs about 20% of the time? And what's even crazier, why do people with average IQs outperform the so-called geniuses 70% of the time? Clearly, IQ just wasn't the main ingredient for success. The missing piece of that puzzle, they figured out, was emotional intelligence, or EQ. And here is the absolute critical difference. While your IQ is pretty much fixed from birth, your EQ is a flexible skill. That's the real game changer here. It means it can be learned, it can be practiced, and it can be improved by anyone. And just how big of an impact are we talking about? Get this. Research on over 500,000 people found that EQ accounts for a staggering 58% of performance in all types of jobs. It is the single biggest predictor of success in the workplace, period. And you know what? That performance in the workplace translates directly to your wallet. On average, people with a high EQ make $29,000 more every single year than people with a low EQ. I mean, think about that. Every single point you increase your EQ adds about $1,300 to your annual salary. So, here's the bottom line. A full 90% of top performers are also high in emotional intelligence. So, can you be a top performer without it? Maybe, but the data shows the odds are just overwhelmingly stacked against you. Okay, so if EQ is this incredibly powerful thing, how do we actually break it down? It's really built on 4 core skills. And once you understand these, you've got a clear roadmap for how to start improving. These 4 skills fall into 2 really simple categories. The first is personal competence. That's basically everything that's going on inside of you. The second is social competence, and that's all about how you manage your interactions with other people. Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, starts with self-awareness. This is the foundation. It's not just about knowing you're angry. It's about recognizing that feeling of heat in your chest the moment it starts and understanding why that specific comment from that specific person is what triggered it. Once you have that awareness, then you can move on to self-management. This is all about using what you know to make a conscious choice. So instead of just lashing out when you're angry, you take a breath. You're no longer just reacting. You're actively managing your behavior to get a better result. So only when you have a pretty good handle on your own internal world can you really effectively turn your focus outward.
And this is where we get into social competence, which is all about accurately reading and navigating the people around you. And this all starts with social awareness. Think of it like being an expert listener and observer. It's your ability to walk into a meeting and immediately pick up on the mood of the room, or to notice a coworker's slumped shoulders and just understand that they're stressed, even if they're telling you they're fine. And finally, all of this comes together in relationship management. This is where you combine your self-awareness, your self-management, and your social awareness to successfully navigate all your interactions, whether that's giving tough feedback, calming down a tense situation, or inspiring your team. Okay, so we have the map. Now, how do we actually start the journey? Let's look at 3 really powerful strategies you can start using today to give your EQ an immediate boost. Let's break these down. First up, for self-awareness, a simple but really powerful exercise. Identify what and who pushes your buttons. Seriously, make a list of the people and situations that reliably trigger you. Just knowing is half the battle. Second, for self-management, learn to breathe right. When you feel that stress starting to rise, take slow, deep breaths from your stomach. This sends a physical signal to your brain to calm down and engage your rational mind. And third, for social awareness, greet people by name. It sounds so basic, but acknowledging someone by their name creates this instant, powerful human connection. You know, the best part about all of this is that EQ isn't some fixed trait you're just born with. Your brain is literally built to change, and you can totally take advantage of that. This ability for the brain to change is what neurologists call plasticity. And here's a simple way to think about it. Every time you practice a new EQ skill, like taking that deep breath instead of snapping back, you are physically strengthening the connection between your emotional brain and your rational brain. It's like upgrading a bumpy old country road into a 5-lane superhighway. And the brain's capacity for this change is just astonishing. A single brain cell can grow up to 15,000 connections. What this means is that every time you practice, you set off a chain reaction, making that new, emotionally intelligent behavior easier and easier the next time, until it just becomes your new default. Ultimately, just like Butch Connor fighting for his life in the water, you have a choice. You can let your emotions hijack your behavior, or you can train your brain to calm down, think clearly, and make the choice that's going to lead to a better outcome. Your emotions don't have to control you. They can be the very tools you use to build the life you want. The only question is, are you ready to start building?